Finally, we have Nora. Nora is a junior at Somerville High School and has been a strong leader here at Summerbrook for years now. And so I'm really proud of her and excited to hear what she has to share.
So tonight we've been talking a lot about just like being on fire for God and just like giving him everything. And we've talked a lot about like what that looks like to other people, like standing out and being different and turning the other cheek and doing stuff like that. But it's also so important in your personal life. And I think in Luke 5, Simon gives us a perfect example of what that looks like. I don't know how many of y'all know this story, but Simon was on a boat and he was in the middle of the ocean, and Jesus was preaching on a beach. And there were too many people, and Jesus couldn't speak over everybody, and nobody could hear him. And so he looks at Simon, and he's like, "Hey, can I borrow your boat for a second? Can I preach from your boat?" And Simon's like, "Sure." And I think that's the first time that we see that Simon is like, just kind of lets Jesus do what he wants. He surrenders to him, and he says, like, he allows him to be in every part of his life. Like, even if you're in the middle of the ocean on a boat, just like letting God be there with you and letting him speak to you in that moment. And then after Jesus preaches, Simon's telling him, like, we haven't caught anything all day. Our nets have been barren, like we can't catch it. And God says, let down your cast, let down your net. And they pick it up, and the boat almost sinks because of how full it is. And that's just another way that, like, he immediately obeys. He doesn't question God, and he doesn't doubt him because he's like, oh, but we haven't caught anything, so there's no way that this could happen. He just trusts, and he lets down his net, and it just works out basically perfectly for him. And then after all that happens, all the people leave, and they come back to the beach, and Jesus is like, now you're fishers of men. So he's asking him to be his disciple. And Simon's kind of like, I don't really know what's going on, but I want to follow him. And he's like, this guy is really amazing, this Jesus guy. Like, who is he? How can I know him more? What can I do to just, like, be on fire for him and follow him? And in Luke 5, verse 11, it says, and when they had brought their boats to land, they left everything and followed him. And while that might seem really simple, that they just, like, left their boat on the beach and followed Jesus, at that time, this was Simon's whole life. All their leisure time was, on a boat, because they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have malls, they didn't have anything. They were fishing and they were hanging out with each other. But it was also his income, because he was fishing to sell his fish and he was fishing to make a living. But in this moment, none of that mattered to him. In this moment, following Jesus and being a fisher of men was more important. And I think that's so important for us to remember, that this world has things to offer that seem really, really amazing in the moment, and they seem like they're so much better, but we have to remember who's greater than all of it, and who's going to bring the ultimate joy and the ultimate satisfaction, that we need to leave everything. Whether it's, I don't know, the validation you get from other people, you're scared of what other people are going to think about you, whether it's your grades, whether it's your sports, like doing the best in that, or your friends or your family, what anybody thinks about you, that none of it matters. What really matters is getting into heaven and having a relationship with God, searching for him, wanting him more. What do you need to leave behind? What is your, like, fish boat? What do you need to just leave on the beach and follow God? And so I just think as we go into this next song, as we just, like, finish out tonight, I just want you to really think about, like, how you can dive deeper, not just by showing it outwardly, but truly be authentic, and truly how can you apply that to your own life. So we're going to go back into this response time. Feel free to stand, feel free to sit, to kneel, whatever you want to do in this moment. Don't think about what other people are doing or what they're going to think about you, but just really leave it all behind and just focus on God in this moment.